Hey there, and welcome to That News You Care About, a weekly video game news show from the folks over at That Nerdy Site. Today is Monday, January 4th, 2020, and I'm one of your hosts, Logan Wilkinson. And joining me this week is my Phoenix son, Trevor Starkey.
Hello, hello. Congratulations to Mike Howard and Roger Picorni for their new pickups over Kind of Funny. It's a very exciting day for both of them, Snowbike Mike and Raj Former. Longtime friends of our channel and work that we've done here and elsewhere. Couldn't have happened to better guys. I'm so happy for them.
Absolutely, yeah. We're recording this as
they're still streaming,
going. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a 12-hour stream.
I think right now they are in the block of Greg playing Bloodborne on stream for the first time.
Oh, so there you go. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
We're kind of recording as Kind of Funny Day announcements are happening. Like Trevor said, I absolutely echo his shout-outs to Snowbike Mike and Raj. Both who are two of the biggest just positive guys out there on the internet, and like Trevor said, are both, friends of the show, friends of the channel, and also just personal friends as well, and very, very, very lovely, genuine human beings. Also, we made it to 2021, so you made it. You escaped 2020. If you're listening to this, congratulations. That was no small feat. Applause to all of that. And today, to celebrate the brand new year and the escape out of the abyss that was 2020, me and Trevor thought we would dust off the old prediction skills here and do a 2020 video game industry at large
2021
predictions. 2021, that's correct. That's a good point, Trevor. Predictions. We're each going to have 5 predictions, and maybe some extra shout-outs at the end as well that won't be the official ones. These will be ranked in the most bullshit ways possible, half points, quarter points, whatever we want it to be. There's no Frank here to just come in with full point predictions. We don't have any of that nonsense here. And so we are going to do 5 predictions, and I already messaged Trevor in Slack as well. It'll be a dominoes bet, so whoever wins December 31st, 2021, someone's getting a free Domino's pizza here.
We won't remember to circle back to this at all.
I'll put a reminder.
Okay.
I'll put a reminder on my phone, and I'll be so confused in 364 days, but it'll be great. Yeah. Trevor, I will let you go first. What is your first video game prediction for 2021?
All right. So I have a few to go from, and I'm just gonna start with probably my most convoluted and the one that I admittedly did the most research on.
Love it even more.
And it is Xbox Game Studios will release at least 7 first-party games in 2021. And that's not counting any of the Bethesda stuff. Because as I think we touched on kind of at our year-end wrap-up show last week, jury's still out. It seems that the Bethesda deal is not actually finalized yet. It's still just Xbox has made their intent known that they're going to purchase Bethesda. And that's why I think we don't know a whole bunch of details on how Bethesda games are going to work in a Microsoft ecosystem. So taking all of that aside, I believe 7+ games, and I went through kind of studio by studio to see what they're working on or what they might be working on. And so you have some what I would say are your more known quantities and your more likely games. You have Halo Infinite, of course, from 343 Industries. You have Psychonauts 2 from Double Fine, which isn't going to be a Xbox exclusive because of pre-existing deals, but it's still a first-party game that's going to come out. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory is likely to come out this year, I would say.
Is that I forgot about that.
Ninja Theory was one of the first ones they acquired back at that
I have to buy an Xbox. That's frustrating.
That E3 conference where they announced hey, we're buying these 5 studios, and starting the initiative. Turn 10 behind the Forza games. All signs seem to point that we're going to get probably Forza Horizon 5 this year. If we have, there might also even be a Forza, a regular straight up Forza Motorsport, probably even before that, but we'll definitely get something from Forza this year, I would say. And then Undead Labs with State of Decay 3 is most likely, I would say, probably going to come out this year based on just what we've seen from that studio in the past. So that's 5. So that still leaves I doubt we're going to get the Initiative's Perfect Dark this year, but if we do, that might be fall late this year. because they've theoretically been working on that since 2016, 2017, whenever the initiative began. It's unlikely we're going to get something new from the Coalition a la Gears this year.
No, I don't think so, yeah.
We might see a new game from Compulsion Games, which was the team behind We Happy Few, which was another one of those that got
how long ago was that? It was
early acquisition. I don't know, and that's what I said. I have maybe we'll get a We Happy Few 2 as kind of like a summer announcement and fall release or something like that. Mojang's always working on Minecraft stuff, so I doubt we're going to see a proper new game from them. We might get Avowed, which is that new RPG, first-person RPG from Obsidian, and my pseudo extra kind of give me 0.1 points for this if it ends up being is that game might get released in early access. I think in general I didn't make this as a prediction, but I think one of my borderline predictions was Microsoft will explore releasing games in early access, a la Hades did kind of thing. Playground games, we're probably not going to see Fable this year, but we might see Everwild from Rare. That game seems to have gone dark for a little while, so I imagine it'll resurface and maybe come out later this year. And then lastly, this is on the PC side, but World's Edge is working on Age of Empires 4, so we might see something from that as Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition and 3, I think, remastered or something. They've been selling really well on the PC side of things. So I'm saying at least 7 games from those teams, and then beyond and above that, I think once the Bethesda deal is finalized, we'll get confirmation that Elder Scrolls and future Fallout games and all their stuff is going to be console exclusive to the Xbox Series platforms, and not unless there are pre-existing deals like Deathloop and stuff like that. They're not going to be going to Sony anytime soon. So that's my first big here's a whole bunch of Xbox stuff thrown at the wall. But it boils down to 7 or more games in 2021 from Xbox Game Studio first party.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. As you spelled that, when you first said it, I was like, no way, and then you spelled that out, and I was like, oh goddamn, maybe they do have some. I mean, if I'm making the stuff from the initiative kind of paying off in some ways too.
Because so much of it is all of those studios were acquired and announced years ago at this point, and so it's time for that to start paying fruit. It's time to start seeing them reap the benefits of all of those studio acquisitions. This 2020 was a light year for first party games. 2019 was a light year for first party games. And it's one of those things of when Game Pass was where every Xbox game is going to come to Game Pass, it was holy crap, that's an amazing deal. And then you just see very few actual Xbox games trickle to Game Pass, and that kind of weakened it a little bit. So I think they really need to kind of recapture that kind of energy. And so I think 2021 has the potential to be a big year for Xbox.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully that is. Trevor is in charge of writing the doc for these predictions, by the way, because I have not even thought about that until right now. I was we have to write these down.
I mean, I have mine all written down. Yeah, so if you have yours and then just want to send them to me, I can combine them. Sure, I guess.
That's a good prediction, Trevor. I like that. My first prediction. See now, where should I start? Or we'll start with a convoluted one for me too, then, with lots of potential point modifiers on there. And that will be Resident Evil 8 scores above an 8.4 on Metacritic and makes Logan's top 5 game of the year list. Trevor won't play it.
Okay, I call bullshit. You can't,
what?
Because you can't put something that you have some control over in a prediction.
Look,
because
I am nothing but an impartial video game journalist out here, right? I will not just put a game on the list with a prediction and get some
I
dominoes.
think I could call it some bullshit because it could be borderline like, oh, maybe it's a 5 or it's your number 5 or number 6 game, and you're like, oh wait, I have that prediction, I better put it in at number 5.
Here's the thing, though. As we talked about earlier, by December when we're doing this, all I've forgotten.
We'll have completely forgotten.
All
about
I've forgotten.
Yeah.
I won't remember until my reminder was off on January 1st of next year. So it's like 12 months from now. So that is the prediction.
I mean, I still call bullshit on that, but
that's totally
I
fair.
I will definitely cede the better than 84 on Metacritic. Is basically what you're saying. And yeah, and it's not a prediction if we know I won't go near it. Although, admittedly, I could just buy it and play it and say, haha, I fucked up your prediction, Logan.
That's true. Again, yeah. It's all about like how often we'll remember this prediction coming into play for both of us. But that is the prediction. I actually am not as confident that it will score above an 84 on Metacritic. That's the part that I'm kind of a little bit like wobbly on, just because Resident Evil 7 obviously did great and was very kind of critically acclaimed. And I feel like was kind of a big turning point for the series. But obviously 5 and 6 were not that. 2 did really good, the remake, but 3 again was kind of more lukewarm. So
yeah, just
I think
I just looked at it. It looks like 7 in particular is currently sitting at an 86 on Metacritic, and obviously it's not going to like fluctuate at this point.
No.
So you're saying 8 will come out, it'll be a little bit less well received than 7.
Yeah.
And then
or better. Again, it just is doing 84 or higher, right?
Sure,
but like but I think it's just one of the predictions where I'm not that confident. I'm not that confident about a lot of my predictions, to be fair. But this is one of the ones that I'm a little bit less so, because I think it just depends a lot on obviously the game itself and how they go about following up what 7 did, right? Because one of the reasons I really love 7, why it's like my favorite Resident Evil game, my favorite kind of horror game, is because it is so insular, it is so intimate. You're not kind of, it's not that supernatural-esque either. It is just kind of like, oh, they're like crazy people, or like a little bit later on like zombie stuff, but like it's not that crazy and wild. There's like only one plant monster. And so I think if they expand too far beyond that, some outlets and people might not like the fact that it's going to get them back into that kind of more outlandish aspect that Resident Evil got into after the first 3 games, or first 2 games even. And then also because it's hard to follow up a game that's really well received, right? Like Resident Evil 7 is very popular, and I think part of the reason that Resident Evil 3 wasn't as kind of well received is because it did what 2 did just the year after. Mm-hmm. So I'll be very curious, but
and I would also
that is
argue,
the prediction.
I mean, from my understanding as an outsider, Resident Evil 3 is already like viewed
it's
as
not as good a game.
A lesser game than Resident Evil 2 was.
Yeah,
anyway.
100%. And I think part of the buzz around 7 too was that like it was like among the first kind of wave of like, oh, Capcom is maybe coming back again kind of thing. Like it's like turned a corner here, and especially that series. And so I think that also built into it, and obviously that is not the case with 8. So we will see, but I'm going to stick with 84 or better on Metacritic.
All right. I'm looking at my joke prediction.
I know, that's what I'm trying to figure.
It's not going to be one of my real ones, so we'll talk about it later. But let me see here. Prediction number 2. I'm gonna go with so Grand Theft Auto 5 is getting next gen versions for PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. My prediction is that the month that new Grand Theft Auto comes out, it will place in the top 5 in the NPD charts for that month. It will as a longtime stalwart of the series, it will, see another resurgence and be in the top 5 for that given month.
So what's the full prediction? Just to make sure I heard it right.
The month that next gen Grand Theft Auto 5 comes out, it will rank in the top 5 NPD charts for the month it comes out.
I 100% agree to that. When I first said that, I thought you had said like there's a new Grand Theft Auto game coming out this year. No. It'll be in the top 5. And I was like, that's a prediction. New Grand Theft Auto game this year. I was like, oh my god.
No, just the new version of the game from 2 generations ago.
Yeah, I was going to say on its 3rd console.
Yeah.
I agree to that. Yeah.
The original prediction was like it will chart, but it like charts often enough when it's just an old gen
Yeah.
version that it didn't seem like right to count that. So specifically the top 5, and that is admittedly like we don't know yet when it's going to come. It's just supposed to come basically first half of 2021 is as far as they've kind of announced it. But like looking ahead at what the first half of 2021 is, like I feel like there's probably not 4 or more games in any given month that'll beat that one when it comes out. So so yeah, that's my prediction there.
That's a good one. I like that. I'm gonna go this route. E3's canceled again. In person. A virtual event is planned, though, is my next prediction. And this one, I actually went back and forth on because I didn't know whether or not just to be like, it's just straight up canceled again or not. But ultimately, I feel like they've tried to do something, and they'll try to do some sort of virtual E3 event, maybe sort of like PAX did. I don't know how that will really work out in the same way, but E3 is desperate to stay alive. And so I think that ultimately for me, E3 will not happen live in person in LAX here, but it will have some sort of virtual event planned for it this year.
Yeah, so this is why I had some backup predictions, because my
I assumed it'd be
E3
another E3 one,
centric one was in a similar vein. I took it one step further. I have E3 as a digital only event that Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo skip, meaning they're going to do their own digital presentations not during the E3 week window, like we saw.
I almost had that exact same thing, Perline. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. I'm glad I came up with others, and I'm glad that like we were basically on the same page for that. E3 is going to happen, but it's going to be in some digital only form.
Yeah. I'll be very curious. I'm very curious to see what that looks like, especially if EA or like Bethesda just do their own things, and if they are even part of like the E3 week, or if they just
it's like Bethesda now is
it's part
they'll
of they'll
be under
Microsoft,
Xbox banner really by that point probably.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
I'm really curious to see what E3 looks like then.
Yeah.
Trevor, your third prediction?
So keeping it with the event focused side of things, then my PAX prediction is that PAX East 2021, which is currently scheduled for June 3rd through 6th, will
I keep forgetting.
The live component of that will also be canceled and moved to an online only event. However, PAX West, which is scheduled for September 3rd through 6th, will be PAX's return to live shows. So basically, the prediction is PAX East gets moved and given the digital treatment just like PAX West did last year. But fingers crossed, I guess. The vaccine and all that stuff is up and going in time for people to fly out to Seattle for September for Labor Day weekend.
That's a good prediction, Trevor. I don't know. This is also a good segment for like buy or sell, and I don't know if I'm buying or selling. That's a great prediction. That's because that September date is like just far enough out, to where like vaccine distribution could be like enough. PAX East, I agree, is not going to happen in person.
Yeah,
I just don't think, because I don't think like Penny Arcade doesn't have any reason to like make it happen.
Yeah, like I went through and looked at their kind of write up, and they basically said like first and foremost, like we want people to be safe, and so if we are if we're looking at things and it doesn't look safe, we're gonna figure out a way to do it digital only again. But tentatively, these are the dates we have for East and West. Is how they kind of have it all phrased. So I was like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking timetable wise, it's not going to be up and running in time for June, but give it a few months. Get that summer weather. Hopefully vaccines ramped up and all that stuff, and they have it back for September. And I think it'll still be a very light show, and I think a lot of the big boys will kind of skip it again, and they'll not be ready to go back. But I think they'll get something up there for people.
I think that I'm going to push actually on this prediction and say that PAX East is going to happen virtually, and they're going to delay PAX West a month out until sometime in October and do like a smaller in-person event then. I think it's going to get delayed either October to November, I think it'll get pushed back like a month or so and then done in person.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the only reason I wouldn't anticipate something like that is, like just venue management. Like it's probably tough to have like a moving window, a moving date for
Sure,
something
I'm
like
sure.
that. So yeah, it's like the convention center, might not have space for
A
them
date.
in October because they might already have other conventions booked by that time. But
I can't imagine they're that much booked
yeah,
right now.
I mean,
but
yeah. Admittedly.
Yeah, but that's a great one. That's a really good one, Trevor. My third prediction is going to be. You know what? Fuck it. I want it, and it's the year of dreams. 007 Nightfire Remake is announced for PS5, Xbox Series X. Is that where we are now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. Oh yeah, 007 Nightfire Remake is announced. We're happening. I saw Tom Hopkins out here on the internet also saying on Twitter, we're going to get it. We're going to get a 007 Nightfire Remake announced. It won't come out for years. We're going to do it. I believe in it.
Why would they do that when IO Interactive
We're gonna get both.
When IO Interactive is making a new new Bond game? Like they're not gonna.
It's your dreams.
They're not gonna muddy the water and be like, hey, yep, here you go. Here's also this old game that only got like your internet friend Logan wants. Like,
hey, here's the thing. It is objectively one of the 25 greatest games of all time. Is that when you decide it, and so it's that thing, or top 20.
Yeah,
top 20. So it's like it's that thing of like, so there we are. Like people want it. People are thirsting after it.
I mean, make your prediction. I'll take you getting 0 points for this one. That's fine for me. I have no problem with that. But it's a waste of a prediction in my mind.
That's the prediction. Your dreams. Here we go.
All right.
Trevor, give me prediction number 4.
All right. So we did Microsoft. So I think I'll throw this one into like my extras of like Microsoft will acquire blah 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 studios. But prediction number 4 for me, I'm gonna go with PlayStation announces Naughty Dog's next game, i.e. it isn't The Last of Us multiplayer, which I imagine is still happening, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying like their next proper game gets announced this year and does not exist in the Uncharted or Last of Us universe. It is, I don't necessarily want to commit to it being a brand new IP, but I think they're stepping away from those series and will get something from Naughty Dog this year.
I agree with half of that. I am less confident that they'll announce their next one this year.
I think they'll announce it. I don't think we'll get it anytime soon.
Oh no! I don't. I think the reason I'm more hesitant on saying they'll announce it. I mean, it just depends on. I think Naughty Dog in particular has been one of the studios that kind of gets a little bit made fun of for like more recently like delays and announcing their games out in advance really early, and so I think that's why I think unless it's gonna be out in the next like 2 years or something, which I don't think it will be. I think they might hold off until like sometime in 2022. I do agree though that it will not be related to Uncharted and The Last of Us. I would even go as far as to say that I think it's probable that it's a new AP. I don't think they'll make a Jack and Dexter game.
No.
There's no way they're making a Crash game. So it's going to be either Jack or nothing.
And it wasn't like when I say like I'm not committing to a new IP. I don't think it's going to be an IP they've worked on, or I definitely don't think it's going to be any of those other IPs.
Jack 4, here we go.
I'm just also not committed to them not taking up the reins on some other IP.
Resistance, here we go.
That people are clamoring out there for, or something like that.
That would actually be really Naughty Dog Resistance game would be really cool. I bet actually. That's a good prediction. Again, I agree. I just think that Naughty Dog is sort of done with both. I mean, I think they're very open, like they're done with Uncharted. Like they've been pretty clear about that, and I think similarly, like they're done with The Last of Us as well. And like I think to your point, I mean they've been working on one of those two series for 13 years now, right? Like I think it is like natural for them to be like, we want to do something different now. We want to move on to another series, especially because before that they basically did one a generation. And now both those kind of bled over into two. So I think they're ready for something different, a break from that. I I mean, I don't think Naughty Dog's going to announce anything this year, which is why there's not a Naughty Dog prediction on this, but I really like this prediction, so we're going to talk about it. I am also not... Again, I don't think it's likely. I think ultimately Naughty Dog will make a third-person action-adventure style game of some kind. I don't think it's super beyond the realm of possibility. They also look at like doing like different genres of things, and like whether that's like some sort of like more open world to the, like a degree thing, or whether it's like some sort of like RPG element to it, or what, or maybe to make a platformer. And we're all wrong, and they're making Jack 4. I also think it's possible they could look at doing something like that as well. I actually think if you're a Naughty Dog fan, this is a super exciting time, right? Like where, again, really for the first time, it feels like in over a decade, we don't really know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I find that very exciting, and I bet you the team over there also finds that super exciting in terms of what their next project will be.
Yeah, and I get like, ultimately I come down on the side of, for investors and for the industry in general, they're not going to want to keep like their jeweled studio, like unknown what they're working on for too long. Like there will be enough clamor that it might be a like last minute at the Game Awards or something.
Oh, yeah.
I
think it would be at the Game Awards.
Here's a tease of like you see the Naughty Dog splash and it's something new. And that's even that like if when I say like not a new IP, I mean like it could be that they're working on an established franchise that isn't even in games. It could be like, not an Indiana Jones, but like an Indiana Jones like kind of thing or something like that. That is
Star Wars 1313.
That's the kind of thing that like the Naughty Dog logo comes up and then, in collaboration with Marvel comes up or something like that. And we see kind of like, boom, that's, big, like everybody immediately gets hyped by
the
whatever that's
going
to be.
Game is happening.
Yeah. Somehow they're now suddenly working with Warner Brothers.
I'd be very curious, Trevor, and this is just like, we're just kind of, this is pure speculation. But like, what would you, if you could have another Dog do, either take on an existing franchise or just make a game, a brand new thing, what would you want them to do?
I mean, of like, what I want them to do would probably be some kind of like narrative Star Wars adventure, but obviously EA still has the Star Wars license for the at least short term. So that's why I say like Marvel, they open it up and maybe we get an X-Men game from Naughty Dog, and whatever form that takes. Yeah, maybe like Captain America I think is locked up in Marvel's Avengers. Right. Yeah. So yeah, you're not. So I don't anticipate that, and that's why I say X-Men in particular, because maybe they hop in and tell a Wolverine game or something like that, or maybe they finally make Cyclops an interesting character who's been shafted, like who is an interesting
and
character,
make Jarrett Green happy,
and has been shafted too often or something like that. So yeah, I would say that's like something Marvel related. I think Marvel games, obviously, given how happy they were to work with Insomniac on Spider-Man, I think they want to maybe put their IP in the hands of studios that are good fits. So if they can figure out a good fit for Naughty Dog, I would almost guarantee that those kinds of meetings are probably happening behind closed doors. Of like, how can we I think the story goes for Insomniac and Spider-Man, it was like, hey, if you guys could work with Marvel Games, like what hero would you want to work with? And Ted Price was like, Spider-Man. We would love to do a Spider-Man game, and that was like that. That's how it happened. So if they had a similar meeting with Sony and Neil Druckmann and said, if you wanted to work with within the Marvel universe, what kind of characters would you want to tell a story with? And then Neil says somebody, and they say, okay, go make it happen.
That's a good one. That's a good prediction. I like that a lot. My fourth prediction is one I did the most math on, the most kind of data crunching on. And it is the PlayStation 5 sells 22 million units or more this year.
Okay.
And it's not beyond the realm of possibility. I even looked at like multiple generations of PlayStation consoles, how they did, because they're all around the same amount, except for the PlayStation 3. We're all pretty much 100 million, or in the PS2's case, 150 million plus. I think, and also just because I think the PlayStation 5, obviously demand is there. The biggest question for this, in a lot of ways, is not, are there going to be 22 million people who want this console?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, is there a supply chain up and running to do it and pump it out and like make enough of these really to get it through the end of the year?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm going to go with, the 22 million units number.
I mean, I would also say, because it sounds like your prediction is basically like taking their lifespan and then dividing it over, number of years or something like that. And I would.
So it's not actually.
It's not. Okay.
So, I looked very much at the earlier years to try to focus on that, because obviously there's a slow buildup, and then like after like year 3, 4, 5, which are like some of the biggest years.
Yeah.
It kind of
That's what I was. That's what I was gonna say. Is the first year tends to, I imagine, be like, it shoots out the gate, but then it's a slow year while it's still like the highest price thing on the market. But then when you start seeing price cuts, or when you start seeing, in this last generation's case, the second version of it, i.e. the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X and S models, that's where you start getting like people buying a second console or whatnot. But you just see the numbers start to spike up there. So
you also just see all the game makers are making games on that generation now, no longer the old one.
Yeah, true. Like 22 million in the first year seems high for me, but I mean, I guess I could see it. And admittedly, the supply factor is probably like, if how bad did the COVID hit, hurt supply chain in this first year? Are they able to do that? Unfortunately, like Sony's at least been giving us these numbers on a regular basis, so we'll actually probably be able to gauge whether or not we know that they did 22 million in this. So is this basically by December 31? So we wouldn't actually know theoretically until like the February or whatever, when they do their quarterly reports.
Whatever that is,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not going to have a definitive answer at year end.
Yeah, potentially,
unless by Q3 they've already blown 22 million out the water.
Yeah.
Because even if they're nowhere close, it's like, well, they could have a great holiday season. Who knows? So we won't be able to tell there. But okay. So to me, for my fifth and final
Your final prediction here,
trying to think which one I want to go with here. So I'll throw my joke one out there, and that is Logan still won't play The Last of Us Part 2 in 2021.
That's a great prediction.
That is not my actual prediction. That was just one that I threw in here. I think I even threw it in my doc after we started recording. But I've talked about PlayStation, I've talked about Xbox, so I'll go with Nintendo on this last one. Nintendo will announce Super Mario Odyssey 2.
Ooh.
I don't know if we'll see it, like we'll get it this year or something, but I think we'll see it.
No.
And then the second part of this prediction is that Breath of the Wild 2 will not be seen in a Nintendo Direct until at least July.
Ooh.
So it's basically like we'll get Super Mario Odyssey 2 somewhere this year, and because obviously the Switch came out the gate running with Breath of the Wild at launch, and then Super Mario Odyssey like 6 months later or whatever. So it seems poised that we're going to see both of them probably, see their actual successors, their follow-ups in the same kind of window of time.
Generation.
And since we've already gotten a tease of Breath of the Wild 2 and then just nothing for a long time, I think that's game still probably a little ways away, and I think, COVID also probably hindered it. But we might see it, by the end of this year. But I think Nintendo is going to keep that close to the vest and not really kind of show their hand on it until they're comfortable and confident of when it's going to come out. And so that's why I think we're not going to see anything till at least the second half of this year from it. And then, we'll see. Because obviously a whole bunch has been made about like, 35th anniversary of Mario, and then a whole bunch of stuff is, on the eShop until March 31st. And so what does Mario look like in going into year 36? And so maybe we'll see. That's when I think we'll start seeing kind of news or tease of Super Mario Odyssey 2.
Have they ever said what happens to, like, because the whole thing is that, like, on March 31st you can't play the games anymore? Like, what is the, like...
I want to say they came out...
did they ever clarify that?
They came out a couple weeks ago talking about, like, Doug Bowser, I want to say, came out and talked about, they're taking things off the eShop March 31st because the drive really is, and the focus really is, like, these are special things for the 35th anniversary. So when it's not the 35th anniversary of Mario, i.e. when their fiscal year's done, it doesn't make sense to keep those things as, like, a 35th anniversary thing. I imagine starting April 1st, you'll see Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, like, all show up as individual games for sale on the shop, but they won't be part of, like, the official package. And then you're probably just gonna start seeing drop off in terms of, like, Super Mario 35 players. So it doesn't make sense to keep that as, like, a long form kind of experience on the Switch. So I think those are the two big ones I think that are basically, like, these are done come March 31st. There might be one other thing on there, but yeah, I think that's kind of what they clarified is, like, we're doing it to, make a big celebration of the 35th anniversary. So yeah, I think
it's dumb Nintendo stuff.
Okay. It is, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think
so.
So Odyssey 2 gets announced.
That's a great prediction.
And Breath of the Wild 2 stays quiet until at least July.
Okay, that's a good one. My final prediction is the very first prediction I thought of, and I thought about it for a good solid 10 minutes of, like, is it actually possible? Is it actually a feasible prediction, or is it just me trying to go for, like, a point that might not happen? And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to make Trevor Starkey happy.
You already threw one away with your Nightfire remake. So.
Exactly. My final prediction is God of War 2 does come out this year.
I love that because my very first prediction that I thought of that I put no time into was God of War misses 2021.
I know. That's the easy prediction. Right? The easy prediction is, like, we haven't seen anything from this game. There's no way it happens. But my thing is, like,
but what if it does?
They gave the date, and, like, it's like, what if it does, though? Like, what if it actually does pull it off? And so, like, my prediction is, that, like, God of War 2 Ragnarok comes out this year. It is a real video game that we would play, if I had to guess, probably November or October, and we'll probably get some sort of big showcase reveal sometime between, like, March and July, in that window, I had to guess, in, like, the middle of the year. But God of War 2 is going to come out this year, making millions of gamers, including Trevor Starkey, very, very happy.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
It'd be super cool.
I don't think it's going to happen at all, but I'd be down
I don't know
it.
if I even necessarily believe it, but, like, what if is, like, the thing. Yeah. Like, what if it does?
It's a bold point. Do we want to talk about some of our other like predictions?
Give me your fun ones. Yeah.
So I have two more that we haven't already kind of touched on. One of them actually, like, isn't even written down. It's just one that I've been thinking of. But it is the Game Awards winner of Game of the Year is a game we don't know about yet.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one, Trevor.
And then lastly, I had Microsoft will acquire at least one additional studio outside of all the Bethesda stuff. Moon Studio, which is the Ori people, and Studio MDHR, which is Cuphead, seem like the most likely candidates. Yeah. But real big dick energy from Phil Spencer would be if it was From Software or Sega.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah. That'd be massive dick energy. Wow.
He's talked in particular in interviews about, like, the obviously one of the shortfalls in the portfolio of Xbox and Microsoft is, like, a Japanese studio and Japanese kind of talent. Mm-hmm. Tokyo GameWorks, whatever the Tokyo studio is that is underneath Bethesda obviously helps them a little bit there, but like when Bethesda's announcement kind of happened, and people immediately started speculating about other stuff like this, FromSoft I know came up as a potential shout, and I'll give a hat tip to Cam Hawkins, who I think did a full write-up on, like, why that would make sense, perfect sense for Microsoft. But then, yeah, Sega, obviously, they've been working with Sega a lot to get all the
That would be the
Yakuza
crazy
stuff
one for me.
on Game Pass, really kind of trying to drive that relationship home. And then I would say like Koei Tecmo and even like Konami have been a couple other names that have been thrown out there.
Some of those are crazy.
Konami, like they clearly don't want to make games anymore, but I don't know if they are willing to get rid of their IP
Sure.
because they have no problem throwing their IP on pachinko machines and all that stuff.
Pachinko machines, yeah, absolutely.
And that if that's going to keep making a ton of money for them, keep doing that.
More power to 'em,
Maybe
yeah, right.
they'll start licensing their IP out to like Xbox to have games made or something like that. But
Yeah.
so that was kind of one of my last ones. But since I did so much like research and legwork on the other Microsoft one, I was like, I'll leave the studio one outside of it. But I definitely like I think they're gonna acquire somebody else this year. I just don't know who it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that a lot.
Any other fun ones from you?
So I can't remember the second one I had after you blew me away with the buying Sega, and everyone won. But the other one was a Dying Light related one.
Dying Light 2 is canceled. Is announced as canceled.
In case you'd forgot, God, don't break my heart like that. Dying Light 2, Dying Light Game of the Year for me in 2015. It's a great video game. Hey, you know what? Dying Light is a co-op video game, Trevor. That we could anyway. That's a tangent.
I mean, I'm not that into
I would
first
say
person
it's-
zombie stuff, so
I don't know if I would say it's scary if you stay out during the day.
yeah. I mean, I've seen enough of that game, and I have it. I admittedly, like my sister, like of all people, got it for me because she got it on sale for like $5 or something like that. So yeah, I have Dying Light, but yeah, I'd never actually like booted it up because I was like, nope.
Yeah, it would just be Dying Light 2. I just don't think it's gonna be as spooky. I don't think it's gonna be a spooky time as Dying Light 1. And I think that the kind of incorporation of like build out your own Dying Light game. I'm not sold on. I just think that like critically, I think it'll be less well received than the first Dying Light game. I also think it's in very serious danger of being forgotten about, and just kind of slipping under the radar, which concerns me.
I mean, the first one definitely seemed to take everybody by surprise, and it
came out it was like one of the first games that did the January window thing.
exactly,
really
yeah.
Succeeded
And
there.
so obviously that's not going to happen this year. So
Nope.
like any other time that game tries to come out, it's going to get trounced by whatever else is around it, most likely. Like it's a niche enough game that I don't
It's
see
also
it
been
making
6
crazy
years too.
waves.
It's like
no, I like
That's
it's
the other
obviously
thing
it has
for me.
obviously had some development issues going into it and behind it and whatever has been going on behind the scenes. Because that's I know Brittany Brombacher from What's Good Games, huge Dying Light fan, and they talked about in their like most anticipated games of 2021, they talked about the fact that like they know almost nothing about where that game's at because like people were blown away a couple E3s ago, at the behind closed doors demo of it, and then we've heard like nothing about it since. Nothing good about it apart from like there's just been like endless rumors of turmoil and stuff at the studio and people behind the game on that one. So yeah, that's like it has interesting ideas behind it, and I don't know if they're gonna
execute it,
pull it off. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, and that's the one for me where it's like. I actually really this would be a fun.
I think
mark this down somewhere.
One of the things they talked about in at What's Good was like, maybe like they hope that they learn from Cyberpunk and basically just abandon the PS4 and Xbox One X versions of that game and just make it a next gen title at this point, and just kind of put all their focus on that.
The first time there was such a cool game, and it came out at such a, like again, 2015 was I think a really fun year. It's like. Because especially from my game of the year list, where it's like it's so many like kind of smaller games, and it'd be fun to like do like a ranking of like the best games of this past generation, and like 2015 is one of the like sleeper hits for me, and yeah, it's just there's something really special to that, and it feels very kind of almost like indie movie vibes to that game. Like it shouldn't succeed. It shouldn't work. It like flirts with like B movie level all the time, and like just comes above that. And like, yeah, I wouldn't have hoped that it waited 6 years for a follow up. The like big DLC like standalone thing they did. It was like it was fine, but like again, going back to a conversation me and Trevor had off the air about another game series, it like removed kind of the big central thing of Dying Light, which is like the parkour, because it puts you like out in like more open areas where you had to like drive around with the whole gimmick, like get a vehicle. But the point is that like the fun of Dying Light is parkouring all over the city and climbing and like chase and run away from zombies. And if you don't do that, you're essentially just playing a game where you like hack zombies. And that's fun, but not great. And also, like, the story wasn't that great, and like how they kind of wrapped up your character's arc from Dying Light 1, I very much didn't like. And so it's not how I would have wanted the launch of Dying Light 2 to kind of happen. I very much hope it happens at the release. I don't hope it gets canceled. That would be a real bummer. But yeah, I'm somewhat hopeful. I'm somewhat optimistic. That's part of who I am as a person, I guess. But I would love Dying Light 2 to be like really rad, and just to exist really at this point. So that's my other fun prediction. I can't remember the second one I had, but yeah, that's the Dying Light related one.
Cool. I had one that popped up in my head that like while we were talking, and I think it has escaped me at this point. Oh wait, no. It's there. It's flirting right there at the back of my. Come on, neurons. Come on, fire. No, now that I'm focused on it, I'm not gonna be able to pull it. But it was something to the effect of this is what it was. Destruction All Stars, the game that got pushed out of the launch time of the PS5 and pushed into the like, hey, now it's going to be a PlayStation Plus game in February. I think is still going to just get like no traction, and there's like I don't wish for this, because obviously I don't wish any studio like failed
game to
anything like that. But I like, especially because it was like, hey, we're gonna push this to February, and it's gonna be a PS Plus game, and then we've still seen like nothing on it, nothing from it. Like, I would guess we're probably going to see some kind of state of play in the next couple weeks. That focuses maybe on Resident Evil 8 that you touched on earlier, and Destruction All Stars to really try and like sell this game to people. But I just don't see that like game connecting even as like a a giveaway with PlayStation Plus. I think all the people that were like, this is the best thing that could happen in that game is not going to move the needle on it at all. I think it's still just gonna it's gonna be a lost to time kind of like early PlayStation PS5 game that like never connect. I mean, like it's like look at Godfall and just how quickly like that just came and went, and like nobody's really paying any attention to that or giving that any time of day. And like this is the time where I could like I've beaten all the the big games I really wanted to play at launch, and I'm looking for something new to play, and instead I'm hopping into Yakuza Kiwami right now instead of like looking at other things that are really showcasing the the power of the new tech and all that stuff. So yeah, I think Destruction All Stars is just one of those like it's I don't want it to happen, but I just don't think that game has connected with anybody yet, and is going to find an audience just based on what we've seen so far of it.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, I'd love to be proven wrong, but it's just kind of.
I thought about doing a PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale 2 prediction for Emmett Watkins Jr. out there, but ultimately,
but you wanted to instead give away your free vote to.
If I had to give away a free one, I'd rather make it for me than a game that's never going to happen for sure.
Did you see when Sephiroth got added in? Somebody took a screen grab of like 8 characters in Smash, and they were all PlayStation or like heavily focused on PlayStation characters, and it was like PlayStation Battle Royale, PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale 2, and it was like because it was Cloud and Sephiroth, it was Snake. It was Alucard from
Yep.
from Castlevania and Richter and stuff. And so it's just like, yeah, it was here are 8 characters that
There's
are pretty
definitely
much
enough characters to make
PlayStation
that's
centric.
That's not
yeah.
the issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably a game. That's like one of the games that like probably deserved and should have gotten a sequel. It just won't get one.
I mean,
certainly not right now.
I was gonna say it'll get one, especially because PlayStation had so many great mascots pop up in recent years, with characters like Aloy, with Joel and Ellie, which weren't obviously weren't around by the first game. I think you could see like Connor or Kara or characters from Detroit Become Human.
We won't have 2 evil Coles, an evil Cole and a good Cole in the game.
I mean, Delson there is another character, but like Jin and
Jin would be dope.
I mean, from like Last of Us Part 2, you got Abby and stuff. So I think like they have a deep enough bench now. Even like on the more obscure things or whatever, you could have Astrobot as one of the characters. You could have your
Jack.
Jack and Dexter, obviously. So yeah, I think there are plenty of characters in the PlayStation mascot library that they could absolutely do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like when they want to get back into that and figure out what that is. And like we're gonna have to see PlayStation want to be weird PlayStation again, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, like I mean, even the kid from Concrete Genie could pop up in there, and his powers could be making genies on the wall or something. Like I can see that game. It's just a matter of like them figuring out how to make the budget work for it for the admittedly limited numbers of sales you're going to see on it. Even like, I mean, like more and more mascots just keep coming to mind, like the Tearaway guys, the little envelope people, and all that stuff. So like, it's there.
That's never been a problem of like not having enough like characters.
I mean,
in it.
that was the problem with the first game. Was they?
I don't think
like they relied on. Because like I want to say like Big Daddy was in there, so that was like a third party kind of like there was enough of a third party like help us out kind of thing to make this game work, that I don't think they would need this time around.
But those are the predictions. Write them down, lock them down. You hear from us again this time next year or after March, depending on how the predictions go. And I mean, so, yes,
I guess if you're so far behind me by this time next year that even that extra point won't work, that we could call it by then.
Thank you for listening to the show. You can go support us over at patreon.com/thatnerdysite, like all of our wonderful and amazing and beautiful patrons have. Their support means the world to us, especially with how crazy the last 12 months of the year, or years, I guess plural, have been. And again, their support keeps all the lights on, make shows like this and like that D+ show happen. You can go over to patreon.com/thatnerdysite and look at all of the tiers, the goals, all the goodies you get. And if I do say so myself, the last few Patreon exclusive episodes have all very much been worth the $1. So go check all of those out as well. You can also go support us by going to podcast services around the globe and liking, subscribing, sharing with your friends, rate and review us on iTunes. Give us those 5 stars. Tell us why you like us so much. Go to youtube.com/thatnerdysite, I believe.
Yep.
And subscribe to that channel. Hit that big subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Tell Trevor why The Legend of Zelda is actually a great video game and not kind of a mediocre, okay, fine one. It's like 35 years old. Please let us know over in the YouTube channel there. Otherwise, you can go find Trevor at Trevor J. Starkey on the internet. Trevor, anything you want to shout out or plug?
Yeah, so I want to plug this last week's That Nerdy Site show, specifically if you have been looking for somebody to talk about 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, because Cam does that for about an hour on the episode. And I mean, like,
God help you.
Definitely sounds like a Cameron ass game. And he really loved it, and shout out to him. And I also talk about a handful of games I played kind of over the quote unquote break, the holiday kind of window there. But check that out. But also, if you are looking for something to do this coming Saturday, fingers crossed, we're going to try and Twitch stream our next week's That Nerdy Site show live, and that is going to be me, Logan, Frank, and Cam all doing our kind of Game of the Year conversation
That'll be a lot of fun.
2021 or 2020, kind of doing a round table discussion of like what our individual top 10s were, and then kind of as a result, kind of building the top 10 list for That Nerdy Site. So if you
do, we have a set time for that? Did you just say the time?
I want to say we're aiming, if it works for everybody, aiming for
like midday, right?
Noon Pacific.
Yeah.
So
around 4
there.
p.m. Eastern time, then
3 p.m.
Is that right?
3.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Noon Pacific, 1 Arizona,
2
2 Central,
time.
and then 3. We don't have anybody on the East Coast anymore. But so that's so we're hoping to do that. If you can't catch it live, like I said, that's going to be our episode for next week, and then kind of coinciding with that next week. We'll be having kind of all of our individual top 10s go up on the site over the course of the week. So keep an eye out for all of that goodness.
You can go find me at LeftyLoggy or LeftyLoggy, Loggy, all across the internet. Like Trevor said, I absolutely shout out to that. It should be a lot of fun. I have a pretty good idea, I feel like, of Trevor's list. I unfortunately probably have a pretty good idea of what Cameron's list will largely look like as well. The exciting thing for me, actually, is I don't really have that much of a clue of what Frank's list will look like this year. And so I'm actually pretty excited to talk to Frank about what his top 10 games of the year will be. I have no idea what his game of the year, I don't know what kind of direction he's leaning in at all on that. And so that's going to be exciting for me. I'm sure it will be a rip-roaring good time. It'll be a blast. We'll go through all of our game of the years. We'll probably come down to what our overall game of the year will be as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely what I learned doing this last year with the team is we have a very diverse team in terms of like the kinds of games we like. And so the kind of games that like rise to the top of everybody's lists tends to be pretty different. Like I said, I think we've talked off air a lot. I think I've got a good sense of what our overall game of the year will be based on just kind of,
I agree.
Where some of the big heavy hitters landed with a whole bunch of people. But like the rest of that top 10, could be a little shakeup. It's almost, at least what it was last year is like, it's almost a guarantee that everybody's it is a guarantee that everybody's number one is going to make it in there because of just how many points they're going to get in kind of the tabulation of things. But yeah, then it is like, okay, the games that really rise above that are the ones that show up on multiple people's lists.
Yeah. So it'll be an exciting conversation. I'm really excited about it. I expect it to be 3 to 4 hours long probably. But it'll be a lot of fun. And I would encourage everyone to go check out that. Also, go check out the YouTube channel for all kinds of goodies there. Trevor is doing lots of good Let's Plays, as always, and he's finished his Demon Souls stream, so you can check out like the whole stream.
It's coming back. Demon Souls Part 5 goes live.
Surprise!
On Thursday this week. I sat down and returned to that game over the weekend and recorded my next foray into another boss fight. So we have that game is coming back after a week off, and we'll see how much further I continue to get into it.
Yes, go check that out. That'll be fun for me. I haven't seen that then. And then you can go find That Nerdy Site at That Nerdy Site all across the internet. For myself, I almost said for Trevor, I am Logan. He is Trevor. For the two of us, it's a Monday. Thank you for listening. Play your games and be good to each other.